What's up YouTube? This is Kyle with Carve, and today I'm going to show you how to install lightning rails. There's a few people that are asking, having issues with a few things, so we just want to show you some really important steps that make everything go smoothly. Before we get started, if you like these types of videos, please take the time to subscribe to our channel. We're gonna have plenty of how-to stuff coming this winter, and make sure you wanna be subscribed. First things first, I'm going to take off my fender deletes and the screws that are underneath the fender deletes. I'm using a T25 bit, and this is my DeWalt gyroscopic screwdriver that saves me a ton of time when I'm working on boards. We will have all of these tools that we use linked in the description, so if you need to find them, we'll have them on Amazon, and we have an affiliate link. Now that the 4 screws are out of the fender deletes, I'm just going to remove the fender delete, which mine is in 2 pieces. And then there's 4 screws on the foot pads that you're going to remove. Flip the board upside down, and I'm going to remove the 10 screws that are on the bottom of the board here. I hate when they get stuck, dude. Okay, so after you've removed the 10 screws, you can take the bumpers right off. And underneath the bumpers, there's gonna be 2 foot pad screws on each side that we need to remove in order to get the foot pads off. Alright, so now I'm going to remove the rail from the handle side of the board. And to do that, all I need to do is remove the 4 top rail screws and then the 2 axle screws. And I'm doing this because it's going to make it easier for me to remove the motor plug cable and also the foot pad plug. Now I'm going to use, this is a Torx Plus 45 bit to remove these axle bolts. Before, I know I said it was a Ribe 8, but I've changed my stance. Times are changing. It's a TP45 now. It seems to fit a little bit better, and Jeff was actually the one that told me to use this size. I'm going to remove these bolts all the way and make sure when I put them back on next time that I put Loctite or some sort of Threadlocker on the bolt, because those are really the only bolts that I care about being very tight on this board. Everything else can be hand tight. Those need to be as tight as you can go without breaking it. So after those are off, I'm just going to slightly rock this back and forth. To remove the lock ring on the motor plug cable, you're gonna just very carefully twist it to the left until you feel a really slight click. And some people are saying they don't feel that click, but just be very mindful. But once you're loose, the whole connector slides down, and then you can just take it right off. And then for the foot pad, I'm going to very carefully do the same thing. I'm gonna just twist that front ring, and it's good to go. Now I'm going to remove the 4 rail screws on this side. And then the last screws that I need to remove are going to be my axle bolts here. All right, I'm just gonna gently bring everything down. And here are our stock rails. Hopefully I don't have to use these again, ever. Okay, so now we're gonna use lightning rails, and I'm gonna put these on here. With the lightning rails, we have some angles going on here, and it's definitely different than the stock rails. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this, because you're not gonna have the play that you had with stock rails with this cable, but if you don't have this on there, you'll be just fine. This is the issue that some people were having, but this is a very easy fix. So I'm gonna put the 4 rail screws in first, and these are just gonna be the standard long screws for the GT. Now I'm gonna come over on this side and put these 2 rail screws in. And this is where some people had that axle block on there, and it was just causing this thing to be a little bit too tight, but this will give you more leverage and more room to be able to secure those 2 screws. So now that my cable is the length that it needs to be, I'm just going to put in my axle blocks, line it up with the holes, and I'm gonna put the cover back on this side. And it's so nice that they decided to use the same size screw head for these axle covers. Before it was a Phillips, and it was always kind of silly having to change your process for a little bit. Now I'm just gonna put a little bit of Loctite on each of these 4 axle bolts. You don't need much, and you want to make sure you put it in the right spot. I see a lot of people putting it up here. You want to put it right where the thread is going to actually be secured to with a fixture. I like to just get these bolts started enough where it'll hold them in place and my axle block won't move when I'm putting my tire on. And then all I'm going to do is make sure that my notch is pointed down. And I just want to get these started and make sure that everything is nice and straight when I'm doing it. Okay, now those are tightened enough by hand. I'm going to plug in my foot pad first, and I'm going to do that because if I plug in my motor cable first, it's going to be in my way to plug in my foot pad. So you always want to start on the inside and work your way out. Now I'm going to plug in my foot pad connector, and it just gets started, and then you're going to get this ring connector a little bit, and then you can push it the rest of the way. And then like I said, when I lock this, I just want to feel that first bit of resistance and go just past that point. And it's plugged in. Same thing with the motor plug. I'm going to bring this and get it started, and then I can secure the plug and tighten this, and that one is secured. Okay, so now I'm going to put in the other rail, and when I'm doing this, I just want to make sure that my axle block is going to go in there nice and straight, because with the lightning rails, you got some different angles going on. So I'm going to start with my 4 rail screws, make sure that everything is nice and even. Okay, so after I've got my rails on there, I can now put in my axle bolts, and these already have Loctite on them, so they're good to go. And I'm not giving these everything I've got right now. I just want them to be hand tight. Once the board's all together, the last thing I'm gonna do is tighten these and make sure that they're really good and snug. After those are all tightened, I'm going to put my foot pads on here and do the 4 foot pad top screws. flip this upside down. Before I do the bumpers, I want to make sure and get the 4 bottom foot pad screws. Now I'm going to start by putting in the short screws, and those are going to go on the top surface of the bumpers. There's 4 on the back side and 2 on the front. Lastly, on the bottom of the board here, we have the 4 long screws on the ends of the board. All right, so now all we've got left is the fender deletes on the top here. All right, so that is how you install lightning rails, or really any other aftermarket rails. It's going to be the same process. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. We're also going to link all the tools that I used today in the description, so check that out. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. All right, so that was how you install the lightning rails.
Just continue.
Yeah. All right, ready? All right, so that is how you install the lightning rails.